If you're joining us from somewhere in the world, feel free to drop your name and your location in chat as a hello so we can see all of the different places we have present and represented. Wonderful to see everyone. We'll give folks one more minute to join, and then we will hand it off to Kuba and Jake, who are going to be telling us all about the kind of SnapDeals design and trusted setup process that kind of we went through in upgrading the proofs implementation. So if you're just joining us, feel free to drop your name and location in the chat, and we'll start in a second. We have people from all over. Glad we pushed it back 1 hour so that it would be a little bit more sane for all of our friends in Shanghai, of which we have a number. And big thanks to everyone in Europe who is staying up a little bit late in order to make this a sweet spot in the middle. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm excited to hand this off to Kuba and Jake, who are going to tell us more about the SnapDeals circuit design, trusted setup, and what SnapDeals is actually doing under the hood from resources and performance perspective. So, Kuba, take it away.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kuba, and with my friend Jake, we'll tell you about how and why SnapDeals work and why we even decided to implement it. SnapDeals are also were known primarily as lightweight sector updates because they replace the existing mechanism of sector updates with another alternative that's way more lightweight. All right, so let's start with a why. The primary why is that committed capacity sectors currently represent over 99% of Falcon's 15 exabyte storage capacity. And even though the number of deals is going up every day, the SnapDeals, which we are presenting and we are excited to bring forward to Falcon, have potential to accelerate this deal growth immensely. Currently available pathway of updating CC sectors into sectors with deals is equivalent to sealing a new sector. So today it just doesn't make sense for storage providers to use the update mechanism unless for some reason they're running out of storage. And the sector sealing storage is a very high latency process. It takes over 4 to 6 hours to seal a sector, and the process is high latency due to computational need to verifiably commit the capacity to the network and create a replica that the network can trust that is unique and incompressible. With SnapDeals, we use that and embed client's data into that replica, which allows us to skip this expensive process. So SnapDeals is our lightweight way of updating a committed capacity sector with client's data, and they leverage the existing properties of CC sectors. Storage providers can use an existing sector instead of sealing a new replica, which is the key feature. The pre-commit stage of the sealing process is completely skipped during SnapDeals. And the feature will be available after the OhSnap upgrade on March 1st. What are the primary benefits of SnapDeals? The deal activation time is reduced from about 5 to 6 hours to 30 minutes or less, which is incredible. It allows for very new, incredible number of new use cases. The computational overhead of the sealing step is completely sealed for client's data in these cases, which means that if someone has CC sectors handy, they can embed the client's data into those sectors without the cost of pre-commit. And also, in contrast with onboarding sectors, SnapDeals is a one message protocol, so there's no pre-commit and then commit message. What are the benefits? The primary benefit is quicker onboarding of data for clients, which allows for new use cases, allows for clients that have low latency needs. Storage providers can also upgrade their existing CC sectors with Fill Plus deals if they find clients, which allows them to 10x their storage without sealing new sectors. This also means that because of how collateral in the collateral and initial pledge in the Falcon network works, all the sectors usually have higher collateral, but this collateral can now be reused to onboard Fill Plus deals into those existing sectors. In short, the new collateral is the maximum between all the new, and even collateral for sector with 10x power due to Fill Plus deals in it will use this existing locked up collateral in this old sector. Data onboarding can happen on way higher throughput than beforehand because the storage provider can buffer up committed capacity sectors and then embed a bunch of clients' data at once into it. And we are unlocking 15 exabytes of latent storage space on Falcon, which is incredible. Looking into the future, we are looking at providing ways for repeated sector updates. So currently, each CC sector will be eligible for upgrade only once, but there are clear pathways to enable that feature, the feature of doing it repeatedly. We are looking into ways to reduce the proving overhead of SnapDeals even further, and thus allow even faster onboarding. All right, quickly how SnapDeals works from theory perspective. We encode the client's data designated by D into committed capacity sectors replica designated by R, and we get out R star, which is our new replica. As you can see, we don't straight up add or store client's data into that sector. This is to avoid the possibility of the new replica becoming compressible. We are multiplying the client's data with randomness that's deterministic, but it's random, and this randomness doesn't allow and this randomness is not controlled by the storage providers before they decide on the data that's going to be embedded in a sector. Then the storage provider proves the encoding step of embedding that data, and submits the proof on chain. You can read more about it in FIP 19. The security comes from the primary property of committed capacity sectors and all sectors in Falcon network. The sectors in Falcon are incompressible, and the primary security requirement for SnapDeals is to preserve that incompressibility. This is why the ROI algorithm is key, and an ideal algorithm would be using pure randomness for ROI, but this is infeasible due to complexity of decoding. We settled on bucketed randomness for encoding, so the randomness is used for each different nodes. You can see throughout an analysis of theory behind SnapDeals and the security factors of it in the FIP 19 document, and in the linked document of theory review of SnapDeals within FIP 19. Initially, lightweight sector updates proposals included 3 messages with over 3 hours of delay. We've worked really hard to reduce that to 1 message and 0 hours of delay to waiting for randomness. That's making the SnapDeals process more resilient. So we reduced the number of required messages by using grinding resilient encoding function, which allows us to use non-interactive randomness for encoding randomness. We also used Fiat-Shamir transformation for non-interactive challenge generation, which results in a SnapDeals becoming non-interactive one-message protocol, which is amazing because now it reduces complexity. We don't have waiting period, we don't have 2 messages, we don't have state that can get out of sync, and so on. And now I will hand it over to Jake, who will explain a bit about the implementation of SnapDeals.
Hi, thank you. I'm Jake. I worked on the implementation, like you just said, and the trusted setup. The implementation of SnapDeals is written in Rust. It's in the storage proofs update crate, which is like a sub crate of Rustful proofs, which is like our big Rust crate for Filecoin proofs. And it uses basically all the tools that Filecoin has created in Rust for like its other proofs, like proof of spacetime and proof of proof of replication, like just handling really large data chunks, like 32 and 64 gigabytes, really large Merkle tree building, a whole bunch of optimized hash functions, like mostly SHA-256 and Poseidon. And then everything that has to do with cryptographic proofs, like a lot of modular arithmetic and big integers and elliptic curve stuff, and all the math that comes along with that. And SnapDeals uses all of it. Next slide, please. Each storage provider, when they encode new data into a CC sector, an empty sector, they have to prove that they did it correctly. And they do that using like what's called a snark, or like a cryptographic proof. Filecoin uses the Grot16 cryptographic proof system. And the reason why we use that one is because you can have really small proofs for like really large complex computations. It's basically like less than a kilobyte for like a proof of an arbitrarily long computation that was done correctly. And that's helpful when you can like post it to some public database. The way that you prove like a computation for like all like cryptographic proof systems, Grot16 is just like one example of one, it's one common one, is that the general computation that you're doing has to be expressed in some like algebraic form. Like it's called arithmetization of like a general computation. And you have to like express it in some way where like a proof system can do algebra on the problem itself. And that's called like a circuit, putting it general computation into like a discrete set of like sequential arithmetic steps. And then like how you encode like certain things into like that arithmetic, it's like how you write these things called circuits. At the bottom of the screen, there's just like a little diagram, and it kind of like lays out like how proof systems, cryptographic proof systems generally work. Like you have a general computation, then you have to express it using some intermediary form. Usually like you model hardware, like using like small arithmetic operations with inputs and outputs, then a prover has to say, like, hey, I know all the values that I would have to know to be able to do this computation correctly. Then you have to rewrite this using some algebra. Sometimes this is matrix math, sometimes it's polynomial equations, sometimes it's systems of equations, or other things too. And then the proof system takes that algebra and it basically compresses checking each and every arithmetic statement into one big statement, and then uses some cryptography along the way to make sure that the prover behaved correctly. Next slide, please. With Grot16, every time you have like a new computation that you want to prove, or like for example, like all SnapDeals computations would be like one circuit. Every time you have like one of these new circuits, you have to run what's called a trusted setup, and that generates secure proving and verifying keys. In the Grot16 proving system, like a prover would have to use like some secret key, or not some secret key, some public key to approve their statements. Then there would be some public verifying key to verify those proofs. But you have to generate those keys somehow, and if one party does it, they would basically be able to like create false proofs or be able to subvert the security of the cryptographic proof system. So what you do is you run a multi-party computation where you have a whole bunch of participants who aren't mutually colluding, and they each add randomness to the keys, like the proving and verifying keys for the circuit. And it's a really computationally expensive, and it takes like basically a lot of resources in general, but Filecoin ran one over the past 3 months for SnapDeals. There is a repo on GitHub called Phase 2 attestations that has like signed contributions, like this trusted setup. Each participant like generates some like artifacts files, and each of those can be used to verify that the trusted setup is run correctly and that the keys, the Grot16 keys in use by the Filecoin network, were actually generated by the participants who claimed to be part of it. So there's a repo called Phase 2 attestations. It has like all these signed contribution files, and anyone can use those to verify the Grot16 keys used in the Filecoin network. Next slide, please. And finally, here are some metrics about what the current SnapDeals runtimes look like. It's about the same for 32 and 64 gigabyte sector sizes. Less than 10 minutes to like update a CC sector, and then less than 10 minutes to also do the proving, to prove that you did it correctly. And this was done using like NVIDIA GPUs and like pretty standard hardware, more than 256 gigs of RAM, but about that. Yeah, that's I think everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. If anyone has any questions for either of them, feel free to stick them in Zoom chat, and we will be having a Slido AMA right after this. So we'll port your questions over, and also feel free to save questions for there later. But for now, we'll hand off to ZenGround, who's going to be talking more about how to use SnapDeals in Lotus.
Thanks. Yeah, great to be here. So after that presentation, I feel like we all have a decent understanding of the benefits and the like theoretical considerations of SnapDeals. But what I'm trying to do is show in this demo how a miner operator would go about thinking and using the new software in Lotus. So I'm going to try to share a demo I've recorded. We've had a little bit of sound difficulty, but we think we might have some resolutions. Yeah, 1 second here. Okay, I'm sharing my sound, but not my screen. Let me see. So of course I recorded this so that I could avoid the hitches of live demos, and it's causing a problem during a live demo, go figure, or a recorded demo. I'm having difficulty. Advanced sharing options, let's see. So I can get computer, okay, there's basic, I can share my screen. And then in advanced, I can share my audio. Is there a way to do both at the same time? Does anybody know?
When you share your screen, there should be a little checkbox that says also share.
That says share sound. Perfect,
There you go.
thank you.
Wonderful.
Let's try that. Okay, so here we are. welcome to the SnapDeals demo. Let's see if this is audible. If not, somebody let me know in chat. We can start it in non-full screen to start. So, hold on. Here we go. Yeah, let me know if you can't hear. Welcome to the SnapDeals demo. We're going to here run through a full SnapDeals update. So you can see I have a miner setup running a 2K sector DevNet. And then on the bottom right, I've got a terminal to work in. And on the left, we have a view on the sectors and deals that this miner has going for it. So to get started, let's take a look at the new command for marking a CC sector as ready for SnapDeals. It's called snap up. All you do is submit an ID of the sector that you want to snap up. So we can see that ID 6 is a proving sector that's active and it's CC, so it's a perfect candidate for SnapDeals. So I'm going to run that and watch the state. So the FSM now marks this sector as being in the SnapDeals wait deal state. So this means it's ready to wait for deals. I should note that while we're transitioning through the SnapDeal states, this sector is still preserved. Nothing is changing internally yet. And in general, the FSM works to keep the sector safe so that window posts and winning posts are totally undisrupted during the process. So let's make a deal using this little tool I have in order to fill that sector up and get the SnapDeal update going. So this is going to take a while. You can monitor the bottom left to see the deal coming in. While we wait, let's talk about what happens, because since this is a 2K DevNet, it happens pretty fast. So when the data is ingested into the FSM and directed towards this upgrading sector, it's going to get packed as usual into the sector and padded. And then it's going to transition into the SnapDeals pipeline, which broadly consists of two phases. So there's the SnapDeals replica update, which does the actual computing of the new replica and storing that data. And then there is the proof of that, which uses the GPU hardware, if it's there, and takes it takes a little bit longer. We probably won't even see the first phase, and we'll see the second phase just because, again, this is a quick 2K sector, so things happen fast. Once the proof gets computed, then we'll submit a message to the chain, which establishes that the sector ID should be proving over the SnapDeal replica. And cool, so now we're actually in the pipeline. Like I thought, we see the prove replica update, but trust me, the update replica step did happen. So while we're waiting for this to finish and go to the chain, let me show you some of the internals. So if you see in the bottom right, we now have along with the sealed, unsealed, and caches, we have these new update directories. So if we go into here, you can see that we have some nice 2048 replica updates. So that process just created this last file here. And you can see if you look back on the left that we're now waiting for the chain to accept the proof that we've done the update correctly. And you'll see that we've now transitioned on the top left into the update activating state. This is a finalization state. It means that we are now expected to prove, and in fact proving with the FSM, the replica update. However, we are still keeping track of the sealed replica, the original one that we just updated, also known as the sector key after this update. So we have a lot more replicas than updated replicas, but we can see that the one that we care about, which is 6, is in fact here. And again, 2048 because this is a 2K sector. So we can see that the sealed replica is still here. This is going to be the case until update activating is finished, in which case 6 will then be transitioned all the way back to proving. Why do we keep it around? Well, the answer is winning post. So window post is now totally going over the replica update, but because winning post operates on a finality look back, we need to keep the sealed sector around for a while. SnapDeal's demo here, demonstrating the transition from update activating to proving. So we probably won't get lucky enough to see it happen live, but if you recall from one of the previous videos, 3, 2, and 4 were all in update activating state. They now aren't, whereas 5 and 6 are. So if you recall, this means that the ceiling replicas have been removed. So just to take a look at what this looks like in the update activating state, we go to sealed, and we can see that 5 and 6, they both have existing replicas. Of course, the update is also there. If we go back to say update, we'll see the same thing, 6 and 5. And of course, this also applies for 2, 3, and 4 because we ran SnapDeals on them. So 2, 3, and 4 are all still there. However, if we go back to sealed and we check to see if there is a sealed replica, none of 2, 3, and 4 are there because they transitioned out of update activating into proving. Yeah, so that's the final step in the SnapDeals update pipeline. This is meant to give you some extra tips and tricks, avoiding some common gotchas when dealing with SnapDeals. So the first thing I'm going to show you is a common error case that you might run into if you're using this feature a lot. So I've added sector 43 because I just recently added it. It's not active yet. This lack of activity would also apply to a sector that was faulty. But right now it's just not active because we haven't gotten a post over it yet. If we try to snap up this sector, we're going to have a problem. We cannot mark inactive sectors for upgrade. This is just something to keep in mind. If your sector is faulty, you can't upgrade it, and you can't do it until it's active. So if you've made a bunch of CC sectors and really want to activate them, if you really want to update them with SnapDeals, you have to wait for a day for them to become active. The next one is a little tour of the config and the relevant parameters. So a theme with our existing SnapDeals implementation is that a lot of config values are reused for committing and for SnapDeals. So you'll see that the commit collateral config is still here, collateral for minor balance. This still applies. So there is a collateral calculation that goes into SnapDeals for proving the replica update. Your configuration specification over the collateral carries over to SnapDeals. Another big place is network fees. So the commit gas fee is what gets used. In general, we're treating config values for the commit as in scope for SnapDeals parameters. So the commit gas fee applies, and the other relevant thing is the control address. So the commit control addresses are also used for SnapDeals. The final thing I want to show you is the deal limitation. So max weight deal sectors, that's a default is 2. And this means that before SnapDeals that you would only get 2 CC sectors, or sorry, 2 new sectors created for the deals in the buffer. We're also using this for SnapDeals. So let me show you what that means. I can update sector 40 so that it's ready for SnapDeals. And I can do it for 41. And you can see this reflected over in the sectors list. But now let's see what happens when I try to do 43 again. Sorry, 42, because 43 wouldn't work. So as the error message lets us know, this config value is too small. What we could do is go in, change this to 3, save it, bring down the minor, bring it up, and you'll see this works. Of course, if we try to exceed the limit again, no good. So the last thing I want to show you is a powerful and potentially dangerous tool that we've added into Lotus Miner CLI. It should be used with care, but it can be used to good effect. So we've added this abort upgrade call. It forces the FSM into a abort state to stop a SnapDeal upgrade and revert the sector back to a pure CC proving. So a word of caution, if you do this after the FSM has communicated with the chain, it's possible you will set yourself up for a fault and loss of power. If you haven't communicated with the chain, you should be all good. But yeah, it deserves a bit of caution to use. So let me show you how it works. It should be pretty straightforward. We go to abort upgrade, and let's try it on 40. Let's say that we don't want to be doing SnapDeals, weight deals anymore on sector 40. You do that. You can see we transition to abort upgrade, and there you go. We go back to proving. And we can do the same for 41 and 42. And the sector should be in a perfectly good state. Wasn't a great motivation right here to do it. If something's going wrong with your setup, this could be a good way to recover back to a good, healthy state. So that's it. Thank you. Great. Okay. Thanks, folks. A few last words, things that I didn't get to cover in the recording. So along the same lines as inactive sectors not being available for snapping up and doing a SnapDeals upgrade, the same thing applies for deal sectors. So anything with deals in it already, you can't upgrade. This is no change from the old mark for upgrade pathway, but just calling it out. And I guess speaking of the old CC upgrade mechanism, so that's going to be deprecated. It will no longer be available to do from Lotus 2 days before the network upgrade. It'll be totally deprecated from actors when the upgrade rolls around, and SnapDeals, which is better in pretty much every way, will be the only thing you can do. So one nuance just to bring up, I won't get too much into this, but there is some nuance with sectors which are being SnapDeal upgraded, which have an expiration which is smaller than a deal that you try to fit in it. This clearly won't work. A deal needs to exist for the whole duration of the sector. And in order to prevent a problem during POREP where your message would just fail and everything would have been wasted and for naught, the FSM is smart enough to just not accept deals into SnapDeal sectors which expire before the deal can possibly end. You need to deal with some strategies to handle such deals. If you're trying to scale up SnapDeal's operation, for example, you can actually extend sectors. You could abort the upgrade, extend, and then bring them back, or you can play with your config value to make sure there's always one sector which could be spawned as a direct deal sector instead of a SnapDeals upgrade sector in order to accommodate these deals. Just calling that out. Another thing to call out, which actually isn't even in the bullets, is that much like adding a new sector to a deadline, trying to SnapDeal update a sector during its posting deadline or the immediate deadline before will end up in failure because those deadlines are immutable. We can't actually be doing the SnapDeals from the actor's logic perspective. The FSM handles this automatically, so there should be no problem. It'll retry to send the message until the deadline passes. So you can end up naturally in a failure state. It's unlikely, it's like 1 out of 48, but you can naturally end up in what looks like a failure state and the FSM will actually handle it for you. One last thing, we do have some plans to do things post-upgrade. It works pretty well right now, but we would like to do some things like rematching deals. So when you abort upgrade right now, the deals get dropped. We'd like to make it so they get rematched to open sectors, and we'd also like to make the market component interface interaction a little bit nicer and have a state specifically for SnapDeals. So that's it. Thanks, folks.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Lots of really, really good real world practical explanations and how-tos in there. So everyone can watch the recording and follow along. Now passing over to Anton, who's going to walk us through all of the best practices on actually accepting and configuring your setup to accept deals in using all of the new tools and functionality rolled out over the past year or so, so that as you're ramping up your deal-making process, you're utilizing all of the new functionality. So over to you, Anton.
Thank you, Molly. So great presentation so far. I'm going to talk to you about best practices on serving deals with Lotus. And you might have heard my dog barking in the background at 1 a.m. at night. So that was fun. So first off, let's talk about the existing subsystems in Lotus. A few months ago, Lotus introduced the subsystems functionality, allowing for various parts of the storage provider functionality to be started and stopped as part of different processes. So today, Lotus supports 4 of those 4 subsystems responsible for different parts of the functionality of a storage provider, namely the mining, sealing, sector storage, and markets subsystems. So this presentation, I'm going to talk about the markets subsystem. So the market subsystem, when enabled, exposes a publicly facing libp2p node. No other subsystem needs to be exposed to the internet. So by splitting the functionality into subsystems, the attack surface for the sealer and storage parts of the storage provider are now more reliable. For example, the stability of deal making is not affecting the stability of mining. And another added value is that developers working on different parts of the Lotus code base can focus more easily on a specific part of the system. So subsystems allow operators to run Lotus storage provider deployment in different modes. For example, Lotus can run as a monolith with all subsystems started as part of a single process. This is usually how we run it when we are testing Lotus, when we're building new functionality, etc. And also, we can start it as a multi-process deployment where one process is responsible for deal making with clients and others are responsible for sealing, mining, and storing of sectors. So here is a diagram that visualizes a multi-service deployment with the markets process in yellow, in blue, communicating with a full node and a mining process. So this architecture has made it possible for us to scale Lotus more easily in the future. Documentation on how to take advantage of this feature is available on this URL, basically on the Filecoin Lotus docs. Just search for splitting of markets and miners, and you will find full tutorial which goes through the process of splitting a Lotus miner monolith into a multi-process architecture. It's important to note that doing this is a prerequisite for running future versions of markets, namely Boost. So let's talk a little bit about Boost. So Boost is a prototype of Markets v2. It aims to replace the Lotus Markets subsystem. It provides support for multiple data transfer protocols, and we are currently have implemented a data transfer over HTTP. It has an improved observability of the various deal-making functionality. It provides robust management of storage space, storage sealing areas, visibility into funds management, and in general, improved user experience and various interfaces. So let me show you a few screenshots from the user interface. This one is showing the main storage deals screen with in-progress deals. You can see that some of the deals are currently transferring and some of them are ready to be published. The screen is automatically updated, so you can see and easily find all the deals that your storage miner is currently making with clients. This is the storage space screen, which gives an up-to-date details on the various storage areas. So you can see how much space is staged, which means that deals have already been transferred, but not yet passed to the sealing subsystem to the process that runs the sealing as part of your deployment. It also shows how much is transferred and how much is pending to be transferred for already accepted deals by your markets process, and also how much free space you have for staged deals. The next screen is the sealing pipeline page, which provides a summary of the sealer's job. So basically a detailed overview of the various workers and summary of various sectors in various stages during sealing. The funds page gives an overview of funds that are tagged for collateral, as well as available funds for publishing storage deals, and basically how much you have in your wallet on chain. Apart from those screens, there are a few more which I haven't taken screenshots here of, but we've also provided visibility into the message pool. Also, we've provided functionality to easily send debug data to developers. For example, the full log of a deal lifecycle and various helpful tools. So in terms of milestones, we are aiming for an initial public release in Q2, and there will be alpha version releases of Boost earlier in March for developers who are looking to try it out before it's still ready and to provide feedback. The team currently consists of Jake, Dirk, Arsh, and myself, and you can follow the progress on the Boost homepage, which currently is on GitHub in the Falcon project organization, and you can follow the various milestones on the milestones page. And that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Awesome. I think you have a couple of questions in the chat. So feel free to jump in and answer those. And in the meantime, we'll move on to Deep and Galen, who will be talking about Falcon Plus, which is a very useful part for clients to think about in the deal making process to go about getting Falcon Plus data cap for their deals as they make deals with storage providers.
Thank you, Molly. Yes. Falcon Plus intro, very high level. I'm going to touch on some of this. There's some other recordings that you guys can check out. I'm here with the Filecoin Foundation and Filecoin Foundation for the Decentralized Web. Also here with me is Deep. Most of you guys know his shining face. Thanks for joining us, Deep. So like I said, our goals, we're just going to do a quick recap on the program and then kind of touch on some of the resources and best practices, both for clients, people with data, and then storage providers, people that are bringing that storage to the network, and then specifically some ways that you guys can get involved. We'll try and keep an eye on the chat for questions, and then also with all these presentations, catching those questions afterwards in the Slido. So Deep, you want to touch on this part? You have to unmute though. No, it's nice try. It's not going to work on us this time.
Okay, there we go. I think the host privileges weren't letting me unmute. All good. Thank you, Galen. I'm going to keep this part pretty quick. I think most of the audience here is fairly familiar with what Falcon Plus is. But for those of you that are less familiar, Falcon Plus is a program that adds a layer of social trust to the network to incentivize as useful as possible usage of the storage that we have available on the network. We have a couple of core operating principles. Galen, if you want to switch to the next slide, I can chat through some of them. Effectively, we have a few different stakeholder roles that we've added to the way in which the general deal-making flow happens on the network. Specifically, the main sort of governance role that you'll hear about in the Falcon Plus program is a notary. So notaries are elected through a community governed mechanism that consists of an election process and a rubric, and are sort of given the right to run due diligence and KYC on clients that are entering the network to verify them and their status or the data that they're hoping to onboard onto the program. Specifically, they're looking to figure out if indeed there's a real client and there's valid data looking to be onboarded to the Filecoin network. Notaries can chat with these clients. Galen will talk through the process of how clients actually apply to get data cap. But ultimately, like the role of the notary is to identify trustworthy clients and award them data cap, which is this novel resource that the Falcon Plus program revolves around. You can think of data cap as like a single-use credit that ends up being like a network-backed subsidy for data that you're actually onboarding onto the network, thereby making your deals incredibly cheap or free, depending on the storage providers that you work with. So notaries assign client addresses this resource, data cap, and then clients use data cap in lieu of or in addition to fill as part of the resources that they use in creating a deal with a storage provider with data being stored on the network. And the reason I called it a network-backed subsidy is because effectively the way in which rewards are then doled out by the network is disproportionately impacted for that specific storage provider, thereby increasing their expected value of returns for the sector when they decide to store your data. And thereby we create social trust where a notary identifies a client that is seemingly trustworthy, gives them a resource that enables them to make deals where the network really ends up paying the storage provider to choose that and deliver like a high quality of service when it comes to storage for that client. I know all of you are here to learn a little bit more about how clients and storage providers interact with the process and the program. And I also know we're running a little behind on time. So yeah, if you have any general questions on this, please feel free to hit us up in the chat, or we can discuss in the AMA after.
Awesome. So I'm going to talk through if you are a client, if you are a person coming to the network with data. Currently in the Filecoin Plus world, we have 3 different levels of KYC, know your client, know your customer. These are kind of like different tiers that you can jump into based on the size of the data cap allocations that you are going to get. And they're not exclusive or prohibitive. You don't have to, pick one and that's your path forever. In fact, we encourage people to start at the lowest tier of KYC, which is an auto verifier. And currently that works by just checking the age of your GitHub account, and you can then get an automated first tranche of data cap. You can then go use that to make a few deals on the network as a way to like test the process, test your process, find some storage providers. Then that next level tier is working directly with a notary. At this time, we have over 20 active notaries spread across the globe. We have some forms where you will put in a request to work specifically with a notary. And so on here around like what to expect, those notaries will ask those diligence questions back and forth. They'll want to know about you, the client, about your data, about where you will be making deals, that sort of thing. So they'll kind of go back and forth with you on asking those questions and asking for some of that diligence evidence. And then the next highest level is sort of more of our enterprise level clients. These are for very large data sets. So at this time, we have 92 active large data set clients. These are big public data set entities that work with a pool, the entire collective pool of active notaries. So you can see here, we have so far distributed data cap to 1,200 clients across, we've been working with 435 different minor IDs for a total whopping amount of 17 petabytes of Falcon Plus deal making behavior. So I mentioned in the chat, we are about to kick off another round of notary elections. So we're hoping to increase this number, get some more representation. So check our GitHub repos. We'll be announcing in a lot of various channels. Those will open this month if you are interested. But walking through some of the different resources for you as a client hoping to come to the Filecoin Plus program, we have a front-end app, plus.phil.org. From here, this is a great place for you to land and get started with that auto verifier, that first level of KYC, or enter the form, find those different notaries, and go through that middle general verification process. Those are 2 good places to start. If you feel that you are in that enterprise level tier, like I said, you could still start with one or both of these 2. It will also have links to our storage provider table. This is a good place for clients to go meet some storage providers, reach out to them, learn about how they work, and the types of deal making that they'll support. Most of that is going to push to GitHub. So a lot of our conversation, a lot of that diligence and tracking of your sort of request is going to take place in GitHub. If you go through the general verification process, that middle tier, you're going to land in our Filecoin Plus client onboarding repo. We also have some pretty great active Slack channels. We have a Phil Plus channel where you can ask some various questions, meet some storage providers and notaries. The Filecoin docs on the main Filecoin docs page have a good walkthrough tutorial that covers a lot of this. And then every other week, we have 2 time slots where we do open community governance calls. We post the links to those in our notary governance repo beforehand. We also record those and put them up on YouTube after the fact. But if you had questions, if you had a direction, a discussion topic that you really wanted to go, or a project that you were really curious about, we tend to save a good amount of time for open discussion in those governance calls. So clients can come interact directly with notaries, talk to various storage providers that come, and then also just hear from the community governance team. So those are a couple client-facing resources for the people bringing that data. And now Deep is going to talk to you about what it's like as a storage provider to work with Filecoin Plus.
Cool. You just heard that like there's a table that exists somewhere of storage providers that are excited to make deals with clients in the Falcon Plus system. That is the table, the link right there. It's accessible on our main like client onboarding GitHub repo. You can also ping me for this link and we can share these slides as well on the Phil Plus channel in Falcon Slack. But the idea here is effectively it's like your first point of advertising for sort of broadcasting that you're interested in storing verified data and making verified deals with clients. So this table includes like a bunch of interesting data about how you can contact a storage provider. It includes like features that you might want to share about like your type of offering, your data center, your pricing mechanisms, your terms and conditions, et cetera. And so when clients go through the onboarding flow, especially for the first time, it leads them straight into this table, giving them the option to sort, filter, identify storage providers, identify ways in which they can get in touch with those storage providers. So if you're here listening to this, either live or not, and you're a storage provider and you're interested in getting involved in the deal making market for Filecoin Plus, I would recommend this is the first thing you should do, is open up an issue in this repo or directly open up a PR. There's actually a template out there that you can fill out and then we can get you merged into the table. And this table drives the app as well. And so as soon as you're in this table, you'll be in the app that clients see when they're onboarding onto Falcon Plus. There's also a second, slightly more aggressive, innovative, and likely higher success method that Galen has talked about in some other talks that we've given together on this topic. But for those of you that weren't there for those, we do actually recommend like going through these repos. Like you're, as a search writer, there's a treasure trove of potential business development here through Falcon Plus, specifically through the 2 main repos that clients come in for due diligence. The first being the Falcon Plus client onboarding repo, and the second one being Falcon Plus large data sets. Each of these have labels that help you track like where in the process a client is. So if you look for like a label state granted, you can actually quickly shortcut down to every client that has actually received data cap in the system and has enough to continue actively making deals. And what's interesting is all the data that we collect through due diligence, through the KYC that we do is also in that issue. So you can very quickly scan the type of data, attributes of it, you know, whether it's text files or movies or whatever, where it's coming from, who the client is, what their requirements are for being able to store it. That includes things like distribution and availability in different continents. That might be part of your offering, but it effectively gives you like a pretty quick way to identify clients that are open to sharing this resource and make deals with DataCap, and hopefully should result in a nice funnel for search providers here who are interested in deal making. Additionally, I mean, Slack is an excellent resource. A lot of the general participants in the marketplace are quite active in both the Falcon Plus channel as well as the Phil Deal Market channel, where we've seen a lot of people advertise their offerings or advertise that they're looking for support with specific constraints or requirements around it. In terms of like how we expect this to flow, you should feel free to reach out to clients that have gone through this, have gone through the verification process, Part of Falcon Plus is also giving storage providers the confidence that they're working with clients that are trying to make the best of this network and sort of use it in a productive manner. And so you get the opportunity to effectively partner with them and ensure that their journey on Filecoin is successful and that the services that they receive will keep them here for a while. But there's also the aspect of sort of doing a little bit more in terms of business development. And we have seen patterns of sort of storage providers also being like a point of entry and a point of business development for the network, where you can work directly with the client, walk them through the Falcon Plus program. Oftentimes, like if you're bringing net new clients to this network, you're going to be much more of an expert as a storage provider than they are. And so we've definitely seen storage providers sort of take that function of like the onboarding buddy or the sort of the guide and the mentor in this process of identifying what client needs are, expressing them in a way that is understood by the rest of the community, ensuring that notaries are able to get the questions answered that they need in order to support this client's application. And then partnering with other storage providers. We're like seeing groups of storage providers now emerge, even though they might be owned or might be participating as different entities and different organizations in the network, but sort of come together to offer offerings of storage across different countries, continents, cities, data centers to ensure a high quality of service, both in terms of availability and distribution, but also just general reliability and just high quality of infrastructure, effectively resulting in long-term success for the client. And so with that, like definitely recommend that you get involved in the community as a storage provider, as a source of business development for the network, and support clients that are coming in through the pipeline, both because it's beneficial for the overall network, but also hopefully beneficial for you. Thanks, Karen. I don't know if you want to add anything else, but yeah, happy to take questions in the chat, or let's chat in the AMA section after.
Yeah, as Deep was saying, we are happy to find ways supporting storage providers coming directly doing the business development. And I think the biggest thing that we really like to see with this program, but also with the sort of the network as a whole, is just the ways in which people are clearly and transparently explaining, I'm here operating on behalf of this entity, working in this way, and here's our plan for allocating these deals, and here are the other storage providers we want to work with. And I think the notaries are really just looking for that level of verification and diligence. And so that's all we have on Falcon Plus, and SnapDeals are not necessarily, we've heard a lot from these other presentations about the tech of SnapDeals. We wanted to just focus on what the Falcon Plus program is doing for clients and storage providers already. So thanks, everybody.
Awesome, cool. So we've heard about how you can snap data into sectors, both the design of it and the implementation of it, and how to configure your storage provider for accepting lots of client data, and how to work with clients to help them get Falcon Plus data cap for then making deals. So now let's talk a little bit about, I think Stefaan is here to tell us a little bit about some of the new capabilities and load-in programs for getting collateral to then pay for Falcon Plus collateral for verifying and securing all of those deals in the network.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So great stuff that we're seeing today. Obviously, we've been working with three partners in the ecosystem: CoinList, Anchorage, and Dharma, that have worked out special programs to help you with your pledge requirements, and so you can support these Falcon Plus deals and also expand your capacity. We'll start with CoinList. By the way, all partners are on the chat, so if you have any questions, please just post them on the chat, and obviously there's a detailed landing page for each one of them. But in a nutshell, the programs are allowing you or providing you with the benefit that you don't have to over collateralize these loans, and you can, in this case with CoinList, can put down 10% to 20% of collateral, and you can get loans from 3,000 fill all the way up to 100,000 of fill. And so this is a 6-month to 24-month duration. Up to you, but the interest rates are between 18 and 28%, obviously depending on your configuration, but in general, a really attractive solution for those who are looking to expand. If you have any questions, go to land@coinlist.co. We have the two leaders here from CoinList as well on the chat, so please reach out, or go to coinlist.co/borrow-fill. Second is Dharma. Dharma Capital also offers a similar solution. Again, all of these three solutions are developed in a way where you will see that you have the owners, it's a multi-sig configuration where the owner address is managed by or is under control by the lender, of course, to protect the assets, and a portion of the rewards are held back as a way to pay back the loan. So we're taking advantage of the block rewards. So Dharma here as well provides a similar but a little bit longer term loans, 18 to 30 months. This is done through a swap and requires as low as 5% collateral. So here as well, reach out to them at Falcon at Dharma.capital, and they will send you all the details. You have to be an eligible participant that accepts Falcon Plus. Of course, all of these programs are to incentivize our storage providers as well to accept Falcon Plus deals and expand outside of China to decentralize our network. Third but not least, Anchorage. Also, Anchorage has been a big partner in the last couple of years, just like Coinlist and Dharma, to the ecosystem. And here as well, you have low collateralization requirements in the same range as the others. So please reach out to them at Falcon at Anchorage.com. Here, the loans are a little bit higher. Minimum borrow demand is 100,000 Falcon. The tenor is 12 months. Interest rates are in the same range, 20 to 25%. So options to choose from. Go reach out and let us know if you have any questions. Now, last but not least, before I hand it over, we're always trying to understand what your needs are. So we are doing a survey today to see what sealing requirements you have. So there has been a request for sealing as a service. So this is a process where you as a storage provider could rent sealing capacity ad hoc or on demand as you see fit to accelerate your sealing capacity. And so we are doing some research on what that would look like, if there's truly demand for it. So please help us and tell us what you would be looking for when it comes to these services. So go to bit.ly/Falcon sealing and help us with your answers, and then we'll see how we can help you with building out new services. So with that, thank you very much. Good luck. Again, good hunting, I would say. And that was it from the lender side.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stefan. And thank you to the folks from Anchorage, Coinlist, and Dharma for being here to answer any questions. So really appreciate that. Cool. Well, we have concluded the presentation portion of our time today, and we're now going to start the AMA portion. I know we've already gotten a chunk of questions in the chat, but we're now going to switch over to Slido and continue the AMA there, and collect up questions that can then be answered by all of our presenters and other participants today. So yeah, please hop over. Looks like we just have a link to Slido with the correct access code posted in the chat. And so we'll be wrapping up here. Thank you all so much for attending today, and feel free to watch the recording, especially to follow along with Zenfrown's great walkthrough of doing SnapDeals live. Awesome. Have a